Hello, this is a presentation on Charity Water, a nonprofit organization, and my name is Nicole Skowerneck. A little history about Charity Water. It was founded in 2006 by a man named Scott Harrison, and the organization resides in New York City. And Scott witnessed firsthand the life-threatening effects through a visit that he took to Liberia when he saw children and adults drinking from this contaminated water, and he saw the effects that it was causing. Some huge growth malformations, tumors, and just debilitating diseases. And since then, he has been on a mission and has formed this organization to help solve the water crisis and bring clean and safe water to everyone. The mission of Charity Water is to bring clean and safe drinking water to people in developing countries. The social issue that Charity Water addresses is to end the water crisis. This is their ultimate goal. And this aligns with the Sustainable Development Goal number 6, which calls for universal and equitable access to safe and affordable drinking water. This is recognized by the UN as a basic human right. To give a few statistics, there are 771 million people in the world that live without clean water. And the majority of these individuals live in isolated rural areas. They spend upwards to 4 hours every day walking to collect water for their family. And this walking for water keeps many children out of school. And it also takes up time that parents could be using to earn money for their families. This water often causes diseases that can make everyone sick, and it leads to early deaths that could have easily been prevented. The social innovation aspect of Charity Water is they provide safe, sustainable water access to communities in need. They do this by working with local partner organizations, and they help build provision wells, piping and purification, rainwater catchments, especially to rural areas, to reach the most vulnerable populations. And they mitigate health risks associated with consuming dirty water, which saves lives every week. It decreases time required to retrieve water, which allows these communities more time to grow food and earn income and go to school, which also decreases poverty. And another aspect of this social innovation is it increases women's empowerment through removing their need to facilitate water collection, which ultimately would take up so many hours of their day. This slide outlines some of the problems with this social innovation. The first problem is Charity Water's 100% donation model. While this seems really enticing and like a really great thing, it has received quite a bit of controversy and has received quite a bit of criticism. The critics will state that this model is bad for nonprofits and other donors and fundraisers and the nonprofit sector in general, because they make donors believe that it is possible to fund nonprofit work without funding the overhead and administrative expenses, which can get quite costly. And any social innovation needs to be sustainable in order to be truly effective. And these overhead costs for these projects really are necessary to continue on with their impact. But Charity Water does remain very transparent about their overhead charges being covered by a separate budget, which they call the well. And this well is supplied through angel investors. So where private donors will donate money, 100% of those proceeds do go towards the projects, but it's these angel investors that cover the large overhead expenses. Also, another problem is there needs to be systemic changes, which becomes a barrier. For instance, there's some local governments in like Rwanda that cover 30 to 40% of these water project fees. But then there's other countries that offer no official assistance. And these wells are often unsupported by the local governments, which can be a problem for upkeep. Also, there are many failed project attempts. For instance, in Malawi, they experienced 3 failures when they were trying to dig a well. There was really difficult terrain, and there was 40 layers of sand that just kept caving in that caused a lot of problems. So some of these projects really do experience a lot of failure and difficulty. And another problem is function and sustainability of the projects. There's questions to be asked like, are these well projects functioning properly? Many of these projects do fail and require external support to ensure that it maintains a sustainable operation. And the last thing is that there are holes in the marketing strategy. For instance, I did a poll with just a friend group that I have, and out of 22 friends that I reached out to, the ones that responded, there were 86% that had never heard of Charity Water and 14% that had. So they definitely could make some improvements on their visibility in the social media aspect and in their marketing efforts. The impact of this social innovation project is that Charity Water has been able to raise $640 million over the last 15 years, and that is enough to provide clean water to over 15 million people. They have funded 111 projects, almost 112,000 water projects to date in 29 developing countries. Charity Water has been able to find sustainable solutions to ensure that their pumps are working properly. If the pumps aren't working properly, then there really is no true solution to this problem. And they've been able to install new sensors to alert for breakdowns and to report for hourly water consumption, which is really helpful for gaining local government support, and it helps in their decision making for future projects. And another great impact is that this clean water has been able to increase education, income, and the overall health of these populations, especially for women and children. Here are my recommendations for improving this social innovation. First, I would like to see increased transparency about overhead costs, so donors are not deceived by the 100% donation model. And second, I would like to see continued vigilance for close monitoring of these completed projects, just to ensure that the wells are working properly, and also to report how many individuals are using the wells and if they're being used as intended. Good questions to ask are, is the water clean, and how close to the wells are the population that they serve? And we do need to see more on the ground partners. Even though Charity Water has made some great strides in this area, we just need more ground partners to perform regular systematic checks on the projects after they are completed, just to ensure that they're working properly. And next, I think a better focus on education and addressing more issues like sanitation and hygiene. I think that that's really an important aspect to really overcome these illnesses and to help prevent so many of these deaths that are occurring in these areas. And also, I see little mention through all my research about the involvement of the community members, and so I think that there could be a greater impact in this area. And the more that we can help these individuals help themselves, I think is a really key component. I was thinking about the church and reflecting on how the church goes about with implementing interventions. And through the church's charities, we really work to involve the people more in these projects. And we don't always seek to just try and solve the problems for them. We allow them to be a part of the solution. And I love this quote by Dahl Renlund, who said that the water projects really help people in a way that they couldn't have helped themselves. And in that way, it follows more closely to the Savior's example of going about doing good. Doing good for others for what they cannot do for themselves. It should allow people to live longer and better than they otherwise would. And I really love this, and I think that if we continue to work with these individuals and have them be a part of these projects, it could really increase the impact. Some of my recommendations for scaling this social innovation are first to address systemic changes that need to be made. Having and building bridges with local government leaders and community leaders really does play a major part in keeping the water flowing in these areas. And it will be able to maintain, with these relationships, we can maintain these projects for years to come. So we really do need the support and increased support of the local government leaders. Second recommendation would be to combine efforts. I was looking online at so many different other charitable organizations with a similar mission and similar values, and my thought is, why not partner with more of these organizations so that we can combine funds, combine efforts, combine technologies, and some of these ideas, and really merge them all into one great combined unified approach. That was another suggestion I had. And lastly, as I mentioned earlier, to work on improving the marketing strategy to increase visibility. Just within my small circle of friends that I reached out to, I was impressed with how many actually had not heard about Charity Water. I've been following Charity Water for many years, and so I had assumed that more people were aware of their efforts, and so that obviously proved to not be the case. And so I think, to have increased marketing strategies to get their name out in more ways, through social media campaigns, TED Talks, whatever they can do to get themselves out there, I think can really make an impact and make a difference in this social innovation. Overall, I've been really impressed with Charity Water's mission and their values and the impact that they've been able to have on so many different communities in bringing access to water that wasn't there before. And I think that it's a very noble cause. It's been a great project to work on. I've always been passionate about clean water and the importance of water in sustaining life. And so it's been a really great project to work on, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for your time.